President Joe Biden approved the emergency declaration ahead of the tropical storm. This morning, federal emergency protective measures are approved for Citrus, Hernando, Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee, and Sarasota counties. That means FEMA will coordinate relief efforts in counties for evacuated shelter up.
We're expecting a catastrophic storm. Winds and flooding throughout the southeast, starting in Florida right now. Kamala and I have been briefed and spent many recently. Ambassador Griswold is on the scene tomorrow. I've directed FEMA to work with the state partners to take proactive measures to ensure the communities in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama, Texas states have the support and resources they need. That includes improving pre-landfall emergency declaration requests from the governors of Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Alabama. In my direction, more than 1,000 federal personnel have already been deployed to those areas. We have search and rescue teams, medical teams, power restoration teams, generators, water, food on the ground and ready to support families throughout the coming days. But let me say this. The path of the hurricane could be significant and deadly. You know, for you and your family's sake, I urge everyone in and near the path of the hurricane to listen to local officials and follow evacuation orders. And I'm told to do so. Remember, 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, 150 people were killed when the surge was only 14 feet. Now the surge is expected to be up to 20 feet. 20 feet. So take this seriously. From the bottom of my heart, please take it seriously, anybody listening to this. And because, anyway, the tendency is to say, I can do this, but you can't. 20-foot storm surge, you can't.
Because FEMA Administrator Deanna Criswell just started speaking at the daily press briefing a short time ago. She's talking about Hurricane.
It is going to be a multi-state event with the potential for significant impacts from Florida all the way to Tennessee. And the president wants to make sure that everyone is paying attention to the impacts that this storm may bring. And he has directed me to travel there tomorrow to assess the impacts. The entire state of Florida is under some type of warning right now, whether that's a hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. And we expect life-threatening flash flooding in the state's north as the storm continues to move north. And so I need everybody to pay attention to their local officials. They're going to have the best information on the specific risks where you are at. We're already seeing impacts in Florida, and the forecast indicates that we could see up to 20 feet of storm surge. So just think back 2 years ago to Hurricane Ian. The peak storm surge from that was 14 feet, and we saw the amount of destruction.
You know, and if you listen to Donald Trump talk about, you know, his comments about, oh yeah, you know, global warming or the water levels getting high, or we're going to have more beachfront property. He's just joking about it, like taking it lightly. And the crazy part about it is that this type of thing affects Florida. Yes, it does. And yet he jokes about it. I mean, how contrary could that even be to your own constituency, people that you want to vote for you? And here you have Biden taking the initiative. Biden, for the record, I did a little bit of digging, right? And for the record, Biden authorized federal emergency funds for states in the path of Hurricane Helene, including Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. These declarations enabled the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to provide essential disaster relief. So when he calls it a disaster, FEMA has to act, in other words, including funds for emergency protective measures like evacuation and sheltering. This support is designed to aid in both immediate response efforts and recovery as the storm progresses. Recovery sounds a lot like repair, reparations. And that gets to our, final point. But it's in the form of a hurricane. I mean, interesting. Congress may still need to address longer term disaster relief funding, like reparations, as FEMA funds have been under strain. Okay, well, let's listen in some more.
Destruction, and 150 people lost their lives, the majority of them from drowning. So please take this threat from storm surge seriously. Residents that are in these areas, they can still take action. They can take action now to move out of harm's way. And remember that you may only need to go 10 or 15 miles inland to get away from the threat of the storm surge itself, because water is the number one reason that we see people lose their lives in these storms. So please don't underestimate what the impacts could possibly be. So at the president's direction, we have over 1,100 personnel so far across the federal government supporting.
Where Donald Trump at? Oh, Donald Trump is living nice and cushy. He's living nice and cushy because, I think he's in New York, up in the Trump Tower. You know what I'm saying? The golden arches and everything. Meanwhile, everybody doesn't get to just snap out of Florida like that. You know what I'm saying? Like Donald Trump gets to. No, it's a lot of people that's going to, be stuck there. And so, thanks to Biden, there is some FEMA relief and help being, already one day. I think he issued, they say he issued his declaration one day before the storm arrived, right? So that's just 24 hours, within the last 24 hours anyway, something or a little more. But in any case, let's listen to some more. And the question that I'm saying is like, it's just, you could take it for what you want, but should, when it comes to federal government aid and relief, right? Obviously, all states are not impacted by that, right? So should some of their federal dollars that's collected go into that? Should they be upset? Should they be the naysayers? The states that don't experience hurricanes, should they be the political naysayers here? Should they just jump up and say, hey, why do they need federal relief? Why can't they just do it with the state money, And they come up with absurd arguments for it. I mean, you don't see Democrats being naysayers when it comes to this kind of stuff. They seem to be on the ball. Yes, and I'm thankful for that, because you don't need a president that's like Donald Trump that's going to think it over for a few days, underestimate the significance, underestimate the threat, and just sit back and, eat a McDonald's hamburger, no puns, but, with ketchup and, ponder it a little bit. Should we send help or not? Just like January 6th, should we send help or not? You don't need a president like that. In this case, Biden issued the disaster statement, 24 hours before the hurricane came. So that allowed FEMA to go into action. But let's hear some more.
The preparedness efforts for the storm. We also have an additional 700 personnel from FEMA that are already in these to support any of the response needs as needed. Some of the resources that we have already deployed include 8 search and rescue teams across Florida and Georgia, as well as resources from the Coast Guard, the Department of Defense, to immediately support any life-saving operations as needed. The Army Corps of Engineers has power restoration teams and debris specialists who are going to be able to help restore power and support debris removal operations as soon as it is safe to do so.
You know what?
Health and medical task forces.
I got a question. Does Project 2025 have anything in it about this kind of FEMA action? I wonder what it says. Let me look that up. I'm going to let this play. I'm going to look that up in the meantime.
From Health and Human Services to evaluate the impacts to medical facilities. We have food, water, generators, and tarps that are deployed to staging locations across the region, and so they are easily accessible and movable post-storm. And the Red Cross is actively standing up shelters in areas that are expected to see and feel the impacts from Helene. My regional administrator is currently embedded in the Florida Emergency Operations Center, as well as incident management assistance teams in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. And we have one currently moving to North Carolina today, so we can ensure seamless communications between the federal government and the needs of the states. I'm very grateful, as you heard, President Biden quickly approved pre-landfall declarations for Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina in the coming days. And I'm grateful for the rest of the federal family that is there on the ground working with us side by side as we prepare to support the American people.
You won't believe what I just came across. You won't believe it. Listen, let me throw this up on the screen. Speaking of FEMA, I'm glad I looked that up. That is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Look at this. I just looked up FEMA. Check this out.
Project 20, developed by the Heritage Foundation, does mention FEMA and related disaster recovery mechanisms. The plan proposes significant changes to federal disaster response, including potentially raising the threshold for declaring a federal disaster, which would make it more difficult for states and communities to qualify for federal aid after disasters like hurricanes.
Oh, really?
Additionally, Project 2025 advocates for reducing or eliminating government programs such as the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, suggesting that private insurance markets should take over disaster coverage responsibilities. These changes, if implemented, would impact FEMA's operations, particularly in disaster recovery and relief distribution. Communities affected by hurricanes and other natural disasters might face reduced federal support under this proposal, with a heavier reliance on private sector solutions. FEMA is not explicitly targeted for elimination in Project 2025, but its role in disaster recovery could be diminished based on the broader goals of cutting back federal assistance programs. Source 30 source.
So you heard that, right? So actually, Project 2025 does, in fact, it does mention FEMA, and it does mention changing the federal response to disasters like hurricanes. These changes, if implemented, would impact FEMA's operations, particularly in disaster recovery and relief distribution. Communities affected by hurricanes and other natural disasters might face reduced federal support under this proposal. We just went through it, y'all. So ponder that while you look at this. Let's ask some questions. In 2 seconds. Here we go. That. And check this out. You heard her talk about the strain that it puts, but saying that they have enough. That's not the issue, but it just puts extra strain on resources, right? Manpower and things like that. But check this out. Don't forget, I mean, Project 2025 has they want to implement restrictions in disaster relief and disaster recovery. I mean, is that ironic or what? People need to be asking Republicans in this situation right now under the hurricane. What do you think about that? Do you support Project 2025? Do you support those people that support Donald Trump because they want to get rid of this type of recovery action from FEMA specifically? You see, so there you have it, yo. Tell everybody that they need to be asking this. And where are these people? Where would these people be? These people would be in Georgia also, right? Another state. It would be in all these states that are about to be affected. And I don't know how many there are, but there's a few key Republican states down there. I know Georgia's one, and that swings from time to time, right? Might swing Democrat, but I think it slightly has been for a minute. But Florida has been Republican. So that's even better because we can ask them directly. That you should get plenty of responses and respondents for that question in Florida because there's a lot of Republicans. So this is a Republican question. All right, let's hear some more. And these type of storms and hurricanes and natural events, they're predicted to increase. So the idea that you know what they've outlined in Project 2025 to reduce FEMA's role in these natural disasters and reduce Project 2025, they want actually the FEMA to not be so active, to reduce their activities, to reduce aid and these kind of things. It's really, really interesting that they're looking to reduce the response, and but the actual events are on the rise. It's likely that these kind of hurricanes could get worse and worse and worse, before they get, not so bad. All right. So, um, what we found out today, or what we correlated today, was uh, one interesting thing, one thing out of all the other, obvious things, but uh, Project 2025 is calling for the reduction of this type of stuff. Look, check this out. Right. So there you have it. So Florida is a Republican state right now. And the question goes out to them, I mean, do you support Project 2025? Do you support Trump? Because the people who wrote and are advocating for Project 2025 support Trump. So do you support that? And if you don't support it, why aren't you speaking out against it? Because that would only make sense. But those of you that are caught in the storm in the U.S., by the way, I hope everyone is safe. And gets help for the people that aren't. It's a horrible situation, and it's nothing that can be done. Nobody can stop a hurricane. So this is like a time where people should try to pull together and help each other. Ultimately that's what time it is right now. And I hope that's going on. And it's good to see that at least the administration takes these kind of things seriously, disasters, because think about it. The response for COVID was much slower, indecisive response, not really sure if it's a threat, if it's something we should do. What should we do? Hey, who are we? What? We just the government. I'm just the president. That was the COVID response. And this time, I guess they say Biden got out the declaration so FEMA could act 24 hours before the hurricane hit, something like that, or a day before the hurricane hit. I don't know. Let me know how many hours that was for those of you that know. Yeah, all my sources say a day, something like that. But yeah, that's it, folks. I'm gonna be back at you, and I don't know. It's going to be tomorrow first, but I wish everybody a good morning in the U.S. and a good night in the U.S. Excuse me. Good morning in the EU, and we catch up soon. Blessings, blessings, everybody. One.